Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. So before we get into the news, just want to make a few quick announcements. Want to let you guys know I'm sorry that I was not able to make it here yesterday. I had a pretty major internet outage. My internet was down for about 8 or 10 hours. It didn't come back up until the end of the day yesterday, so I do apologize. I was not able to make it here. First time we have had that big of an internet outage in years, I would say. Also, I'm going to be leaving out of town starting tomorrow on November 6th, and I will be arriving back in town somewhere around on the 11th of Tuesday next week. So you should see me back online here either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on if I need that extra day to kind of get acclimated again. I might jump back on here on the 13th, which will be Thursday of next week. But I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you posted. I'll put out some community posts here on YouTube while I'm gone. So guys, thanks so much for your patience with everything. We've got a lot to talk about with this war. We'll start out with a very big report out of Russia, as we have new information today that a major Russian port, primarily used for export of oil products, has halted operations on fuel exports. And also the local refinery has suspended operations as well due to this past weekend's massive drone attack by Ukraine. Here's a new update for you here on your screen. Russia's oil port of Tuapse halts fuel exports. Oil refinery down. The Tuapse refinery, which focuses on exports, has a capacity of 240,000 barrels of oil per day. It produces naphtha, fuel oil, vacuum gas oil, and high sulfur diesel. Okay, so just over the weekend on Sunday, we had a massive attack on this port. I think there was more than like 24 drones that were attacking this port. Major hits over here. We had reports of oil tankers that were on fire as well. I think 3 of them were on fire at this port that were loading up at some of the docks. Major damage to the infrastructure over here, and also the oil refinery right next door to the port taking some massive hits as well. So yeah, huge reports today that the port of Tuapse is halting fuel exports, and this oil refinery that's located right next door is shut down for repairs. So that is huge, guys. This is a major oil export port for Russia. We know the port of Tuapse and the port of Novorossiysk, which is just a little bit south of where this port is at in the Krasnodar Krai region of Russia. These are major ports that Russia uses for oil exports. That's going to hurt them big time. We also have news that Russia may begin conducting nuclear weapons tests sometime in the near future, as Russia's defense minister Andrei Belousov has advised Russian President Vladimir Putin to begin these tests immediately. That's some big news today. And also the U.S. Carried out a test of their Minuteman III ballistic missile, or ICBM, today. Also, Ukraine struck a Russian thermal power plant in the Oryol region. Flamingo cruise missiles may have been used. Ukrainian drones also successfully attacked a large electrical substation in Russia's Vladimir region. This facility has been attacked in the recent past and was struck again last night. We'll talk about all these different hits inside of Russia and all these other major reports, guys. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. Thanks again for your patience. Start out here with Max 25. Russia's Black Sea port of Tuapse has suspended fuel exports, while the local oil refinery halted processing crude following November 2nd Ukrainian drone attacks. According to Reuters, here's the report today. Exclusive: Russia's Tuapse halted fuel exports after drone attacks. Refinery stopped. Sources say. You can see here the date, November 5th, 2025, just being reported today. That again, the Tuapse port completely shut down for fuel exports, and on top of that, the refinery is shut down. I've got more information on that refinery right here from Jay in Kiev. Yet another Russian refinery halts operations due to Ukrainian strikes. So the Moscow Times reporting this says the Tuapse oil refinery has halted oil refining following a drone attack on the port of Tuapse. And the date here, November 5th, from Reuters, Rosneft's Tuapse refinery was forced to suspend oil refining from November 3rd following an attack by unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, on the port of Tuapse. The previous day, 2 industry sources told Reuters, and data from LSEG showed on November 2nd the Krasnodar Krai operational headquarters reported that the fall of UAV debris damaged the infrastructure and buildings of the oil terminal in the port of Tuapse, as well as 2 foreign civilian vessels. According to LSEG, at the time of the attack, 3 tankers were loading naphtha, diesel fuel, with a 0.7% sulfur content. Okay, so yeah, we had some several different oil tankers that were there loading up at the time. They also apparently got hit, caught on fire, major damage to the port. That's why the port is now halting fuel exports. And then on top of that, this major refinery over here that's primarily used for fuel exports as well, also shutting down. So, guys, this is crazy news. This is probably one of the biggest hits that Ukraine has carried out in a while. I mean, obviously, these oil refineries being attacked is very big also, but this is a major export port that came under attack and clearly, according to this information coming out today, taking on massive damage and having to shut down many operations. So, very big news. Now, Anton Gerashenko, Russian Defense Minister Belousov, suggested to Putin that preparations for nuclear weapons testing on the Novaya Zemlya archipelago begin immediately. Putin said that if the U.S. and other participants in the CTBT conduct nuclear tests, Russia will take appropriate measures. Okay, so this is Andrei Belousov, the defense minister of Russia, advising Vladimir Putin to begin immediate tests of nuclear weapons up on the, what was the name of this archipelago? Novaya Zemlya. This is going to be an island, a piece of land that is just north of Russia, up in the near the Arctic Sea, I believe. And apparently this is where they used to test a lot of nuclear weapons under the Soviet era, and now they might start testing these up here very soon as well. So take a look at this real quick. There is subtitles here on the bottom.
С учетом вышеизложенного, считаю целесообразным подготовку к полномасштабным ядерным испытаниям начать немедленно. Готовность сил и средств центрального полигона на архипелаге Новая Земля позволяет обеспечить ее проведение в сжатые сроки. С учетом вышеизложенного.
Okay, so he says full-scale nuclear tests immediately. They're going to begin preparations. So I wonder if that means they're actually going to be detonating nuclear weapons. The United States did, again, launch a Minuteman III. We'll go over that here in just a minute. An ICBM that could be nuclear capable, but it did not carry a warhead. And I wonder if the Russians are now going to start nuclear tests due to the announcement from Trump just about a week ago stating that he ordered the Department of War to conduct nuclear tests. But so far, we haven't seen any nuclear detonations. We've only been seeing tests of nuclear weapon systems from the United States. Here's that report right here. Vicegrad 24, the United States conducted a test launch of a Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. The launch took place from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, according to the base's press service. The missile flew nearly 6,800 kilometers and reached the Kwajalein Atoll in the Pacific Ocean. The previous Minuteman III test was held in May. The U.S. Air Force described such launches as routine and regular. In total, the missile has been tested more than 300 times. Minuteman III is an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, designed to carry a nuclear payload, though it was unarmed during this test, designated GT-254. So this might be a picture of that launch here from the Vandenberg Air Force Base. And fun fact, actually, I used to live very close to this base, just a little bit north of there, probably about 30 minutes or so. I was not too far away from there, probably just about over 10 years ago. So yeah, another test of this being carried out, and we heard about this. I reported this to you guys just a couple days ago, actually, that the U.S. is going to be carrying this out either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and they went ahead and did that earlier this morning. Okay, so this is what Russia's talking about, that because the U.S. is carrying out these tests, which to me are routine. You know, it's nothing new. The U.S. does this several times a year, but I guess just the fact that Trump was ordering the Department of War to start conducting nuclear weapons testing, this is why Russia's saying, well, we're going to start taking appropriate measures and doing the same thing. Now, Vicegrad 24, Ukrainian missiles have struck the power plant in Oryol. Russia again. Ukrainian long-range strikes aren't just drone attacks now. More and more Ukrainian missiles are being produced by the day. It will be a long winter for the people in Western Russia. Yeah, we're hearing a lot about missiles now, aren't we? Over the past week or so, maybe 2 weeks, we've been hearing a lot about missile attacks. And allegedly, the thermal power plant located in the Oryol region close to Moscow came under attack by potentially a Ukrainian Flamingo missiles, what's being reported. When you look at some of these videos, massive blast whenever this thing strikes the thermal power plant over here. At least that's what's being reported. You're going to hear what sounds like a major explosion and a missile coming in this video. Take a look. All right, so we can definitely hear what sounds like a missile incoming over here. Then we hear a quiet pause and a flash, and then all of a sudden that massive explosion. Somebody was a little bit further away from this thermal power plant, but I've got what is another video right here now from Cloud. Ukrainian-made FP-5 Flamingo cruise missiles visited Russian city Oryol and struck the thermal power plant. I've already written this, but I'll repeat myself. If Russia does not abandon its plans to destroy Ukraine's energy system, Russia's system will also be destroyed. Oh yeah, Ukraine's got their capabilities now with these missiles. Here's potentially another video of the Oryol thermal power plant coming under attack. Somebody else recorded the explosion nearby as well. Take a look at this. All right, we'll go ahead and pause it right there. So right towards the beginning of this video, we can see that flash and then that massive explosion shaking everything. And we know the warhead on the Flamingo missile is approximately about 1,100 kilograms. So that was probably some major damage that was done over there if this was a Flamingo missile that was used to carry out this strike. We know Ukraine's been using Ruda missiles also. Then they've got a lot of different rocket drones. So we're not sure exactly what was used, but some people are reporting that it was FP-5 Flamingo cruise missiles that were being used to strike this thermal power plant. Now Max 25 in Vladimir, a 750 kilovolt substation was again successfully attacked. Here's a picture coming out from the Vladimir region. This is just a little bit northeast of the Moscow Oblast, and reports of the Vladimir 750 kilovolt electrical substation being attacked again. I think it was just over the last week or 2 weeks. We had information that this electrical substation was attacked, directly hit by Ukrainian drones. You can see smoke coming from the area over here, most likely from that electrical substation. We've got video now as well. Or translated, also last night, drones attacked an electrical substation in the Russian city of Vladimir. According to monitoring reports, it is one of the most powerful substations in Russia and holds strategic importance for the country's power grid. Its installed capacity is 4,850 megavolts ampere. Okay, so yeah, huge hits over here, guys. Again, it looks like Ukraine's really trying to shut down this major electrical substation, which I would not be surprised would cause massive blackouts inside of Moscow if this were to be completely destroyed. So Ukraine has struck it multiple times over the last couple weeks. Take a look at this video, about 45 seconds.
Ебать. Моя сейчас врубит.
All right, we'll go ahead and unmute the video here. So this video is very long. It's like 20-30 seconds of just quietness here, but we can see a major fire that broke out at this electrical substation as it came under attack by at least one Ukrainian drone. We were able to see in that last video, there definitely was a major explosion. This looks like this potential electrical substation that was attacked and took a direct hit there. So we'll have to wait for more details. Looks like more damage to this Vladimir electrical substation. Now UA Voyager, horrifying footage from an enemy drone. Russia can't conquer Kherson, so it bombs civilians instead. This is how residential areas were heavily and indiscriminately bombed by MLRS. Those are multiple launch rocket systems this morning. Okay, so the multiple launch rocket system can fire, I think, anywhere from like 12 or more rockets at a time. We can see some heavy bombings over here from these rockets slamming into a district in the city of Kherson down in southern Ukraine. We see a lot of this, heavy bombings over here from artillery shells. I mean, you name it, everything strikes over here, glide bombs. The residents down here in the city of Kherson, many people being injured and killed almost daily in attacks down here. This is right next to Crimea. So the Russians are literally just over the river launching huge attacks onto civilians repeatedly, just like what we see there. Now, Anton Gerashenko, Ukrainian Special Operation Forces launched a strike on a Russian Iskander operational tactical missile complex and Russian air defense elements. On the night of October 4th, an Iskander transport loading vehicle was hit from joint actions of one of the Special Operation Forces units and the Black Spark unit in Kursk region of Russia. The vehicle was used to transport, charge, and prepare missiles to be launched on Ukraine. A Garmin radar station was also burned down. He says, glory. Okay, so apparently one of these Iskander ballistic missile systems, the launch systems, was actually struck and destroyed on the night of October 4th. Okay, and it talks about the Kursk region here, where this may have been carried out at. And this is very big because it's not very often we hear about these Iskander systems being destroyed. And allegedly another one was hit. I think there was reports that I covered, I want to say about 3 to 5 months ago. We had some strikes that were carried out by HIMARS up in the Bryansk region, right next door to the Kursk region up north of Ukraine. And we had reports of, I think, 2 of these Iskander systems that were struck and destroyed by HIMARS. Looks like Ukraine had wiped out another one of these recently, just about a month ago. So very big report just coming out today. Now, Euromaidan press, anti-drone nets have been set up as far as 26 kilometers from the front line. In the Donetsk region, FPV attacks have ramped up in recent months, and these nets mean life or death for civilian and military. Ukrainian military engineers are constantly placing new nets around Donetsk despite being hunted by FPVs themselves. So if you guys remember some reports I shared with you just over the last week or two, Sweden's actually been donating a lot of fishing nets over to Ukraine. This is the reason why they use these nets to cover major roads that lead into, where the Ukrainian soldiers are fighting in the Donetsk Oblast, the Luhansk region, and Kharkiv regions. There's lots of major roads that come under attack by Russian FPVs. So they use these nets to protect these roads. That way, the logistics remain open and Ukraine can also move troops towards the front line. So some new video coming out today showing some of these fishing nets that are deployed to cover some of these roadways in eastern Ukraine. Now, Bliskovka, the guys in Murderad are practically surrounded. Even if they are ordered to retreat, it is unlikely that anyone will survive, says Bild with reference to the fighters of the armed forces of Ukraine. The soldiers say that it is likely that none of them will reach new positions alive. They decided to stay in their positions and hope either for liberation by other units or for capture. Okay, this is a report coming out from Bild. I think this is a magazine out of Germany that's reporting this, that allegedly the soldiers over here in the city of Murderad, right next to Pokrovsk, we've been talking about this area that's the Russians are slowly starting to encircle it. Apparently the soldiers that are fighting in Murderad have no way out, that if they try to even retreat, they may be killed maybe by some of these soldiers, the Russian troops over here on the northern side. If they try to retreat, they might be killed from Russian troops in Pokrovsk or north of that up here. So not good to hear. We continue to hear bad information coming out for the Pokrovsk sector that is slowly collapsing. I keep hearing more reports that, maybe the next days or next few weeks, it could potentially fall to the Russians. But Ukraine is still carrying out more aggressive actions over here, trying to force the Russians out of the city of Pokrovsk, which is going to be right here. You can see the Russians already starting to move in. Here's another report. Max 25, the defense of Pokrovsk Murderad agglomeration continues. There is no encirclement of our units, says Ukraine's general staff. Measures are being taken to block the enemy who is trying to infiltrate and accumulate in the city of Pokrovsk. At the same time, work is underway to strengthen the defense flanks of agglomeration, secure and protect the logistics routes. The Dobrapil operation is underway. Over the past day, Ukrainian assault units in some directions advanced from 100 meters to 700 meters. In total, during the operation as of November 5th, 2025, 188.9 square kilometers were liberated and 249.9 square kilometers were cleared of enemy DRGs. Okay, so according to Ukraine's general staff, still no encirclement at this time in Pokrovsk, even though there's that report coming out from Bild magazine in Germany that the Ukrainian forces over in Murderad are starting to be surrounded over there. So it is getting pretty intense over here in this area, but as of right now, Ukraine's general staff still claiming that they have full control of the situation. It's just very critical at this time. So it can really change within 24 hours, 48 hours. Things can change very quickly on a dime over here. So I'll continue to monitor that for you guys. It's definitely not looking good in this area. Now from next, signal to Russia. Rheinmetall builds ammunition plant in Lithuania. Europe's largest defense contractor, Rheinmetall, has laid the foundation stone for a plant in Baisogala, Lithuania, which will produce 155mm artillery shells, NATO's main caliber. The facility is set to launch in mid-2026. The first phase includes production of 35,000 shells, ramping up to as many as 100,000 per year by 2027. This is the biggest defense investment in Lithuania's history and a direct move to expand manufacturing capacity on NATO's eastern flank. Rheinmetall CEO Armin Parperger called the project an important signal for Russia that's showing that the alliance can respond quickly. Here's video footage coming out from Lithuania, from all these top representatives and probably some of the members of the company of Rheinmetall that were announcing the production or the start of production of this plant, producing 155 millimeter artillery shells inside of Lithuania for NATO forces. So very big news, going to be right on the border of Russia where they're going to be producing this, and they were announcing that today. So great to hear that NATO is still moving forward to protect the alliance and prepare themselves for possible war with Russia in the future if that happens to come to fruition. Now, Vicegrad 24, Norway to strengthen border with Russia using fences, surveillance systems, and drones. Norway plans to install fences along several sections of its border with Russia alongside modern sensors and surveillance cameras to improve monitoring. The use of drones will also be relevant for certain areas of the frontier, according to officials. Oslo received around 16.4 million euros from the European Commission in late 2024 to modernize the Norwegian-Russian border. Okay, so Norway taking some major defensive maneuvers here and actions to strengthen their border with Russia. So apparently they're going to start building fences, surveillance systems, and drones. There was also a big report yesterday that Poland's moving forward, building their own defensive drone wall. They're not waiting for the EU or any kind of financing. They're starting to do it themselves. You can see a lot of these nations taking matters into their own hands. Even Norway here starting to defend their own borders for any potential war with Russia in the future. Obviously, these nations that are right on the border with Russia need to get prepared, right? We're starting to see that. Norway's doing this right now. I think also Finland is preparing some major military drills right on the border with Russia here very soon also. So many of these nations getting ready for any potential conflict. Now, Ukrainian review. Pevker announced Estonia's initiative to allocate 3 million euros for the purchase and support of Starlink satellite communication systems for Ukraine. This was announced today. You can see him shaking hands with Dennis Smile here. And yeah, so apparently Estonia putting together 3 million euros, allocating the purchase of support of Starlink satellite communication systems. So we know Ukraine uses Starlink a lot on the front line for communications. So they're willing to help out purchasing, more systems for Ukraine, the Starlink systems, so that way they can have better communications on the front line. So great news to hear coming out from Estonia. Now, Knoll reports Russia has begun serial production of modular guided air bombs with jet engines, KMBPB, with a range of up to 200 kilometers, Ukraine's GUR reports. This allows Russian aircraft to strike targets without entering the reach of Ukrainian air defenses. So we've been talking about this. Russia pretty much converting their glide bombs or guided aerial bombs into missiles now is pretty much what they're doing. They're attaching jet engines to some of these glide bombs that can allow them to travel much further so they can launch them further away from the front lines and not risk getting shot down. We know a lot of these are being dropped all over Ukraine. I mean, we're talking probably more than 10,000 of these per year. I think it's even higher than that. There's hundreds of these dropped on the front line every single week, and now these things can fly a lot further into Ukraine. They're going to start targeting a lot of new cities that we're not seeing these glide bombs. So hopefully Ukraine can find a counter to this. We have been hearing that they do have capabilities to shoot these down because they're basically like a missile now. Now the fact that these turbojet engines are attached to these missiles, or these bombs, So very big news there. We're going to be hearing a lot about that soon. Now more translated. Local channels in occupied Crimea report that a Panzer S-1 anti-aircraft missile and gun system was spotted being transported along the Tavrida highway from Kerch towards Simferopol. Typically, such systems are moved from Russia to Crimea to replace those that have been damaged or destroyed. So we got some new pictures coming out showing a Panzer S-1 anti-aircraft missile and gun system that was being transported from the Kerch bridge, or the city of Kerch, towards Simferopol, which is more like south-central Crimea. So most likely it was heading over there due to all these systems being destroyed over here recently. We know a lot of radar systems and anti-aircraft systems are being destroyed inside of Crimea repeatedly by Ukrainian drones. So it looks like the Russians were trying to send one of these over here to replace most likely another system that was destroyed. And the Russians are running out of air defenses in Crimea. We've been hearing a lot about that recently. That's allowing a lot of Ukrainian strike drones to strike airfields, destroy aircraft and whatnot. So the Russians still trying to deploy more air defense systems to Crimea. Now, Kyiv Independent, Belgium shuts down Brussels airport due to suspicious drone sighting. It's the first time Brussels airport has closed due to drone activity. More drones were also spotted near Belgium's Klein Brogel Air Base, which houses F-16 fighter jets. Okay, so more reports of drones over Belgium now in the city of Brussels, the major airport over there being shut down due to suspicious drone sightings. Not good to hear, guys. We've still been hearing about this. This has been going on for about 2 months now, I want to say. And drones are still being spotted over sensitive airports and military sites across multiple European nations. This case being Belgium once again. We just talked about Belgium the other day, where we had some sites even that had nuclear weapons. Some drones were being spotted over military sites over there, so not good to hear. Now, next, North Korea sent another 5,000 troops to Russia. Yonhap reports that the personnel are formally being deployed as engineers and construction workers to help rebuild infrastructure. But South Korean intelligence sees signs that new groups are being prepared for further deployment to the front. According to Seoul, around 10,000 North Korean soldiers are already positioned near the Russian-Ukrainian border, with roughly 1,000 North Korean sappers engaged in demining operations. Earlier, Yonhap reported around 2,000 North Korean troops sent to support Russia were killed in the war against Ukraine. So isn't that crazy? We continue to hear more that North Korea is supplying troops into Russia. In this case, another 5,000 that they're claiming are going to be construction workers to help rebuild infrastructure. At least that's what Pyongyang is saying. Are these people going to end up on the front line? I wouldn't be surprised some of them do, if not all of them. We do know there's a lot of destruction inside of Russia, so maybe some of them are being deployed to help out over there and help rebuild infrastructure that's being destroyed, but most likely I would think they're going to be sent to the front line. So we're probably going to hear of more North Korean troops showing up on the front line inside of Ukraine, and this is definitely not good to hear that North Korea is getting more actively involved every single day with more troops. Now, Vice Grad 24 breaking. The RSF has shot down a Russian crewed Sudanese Air Force Ilyushin 76 transport plane as it was bringing weapons to the Muslim Brotherhood linked Sudanese armed forces. 5 Russians were killed. The plane was bought from Kyrgyzstan 6 weeks ago for $12 million. Okay, so once again, we're hearing reports of a Russian military aircraft being shot down over Sudan. I think there was a report, I want to say about 6 months ago or so, where we had another Russian plane that was shot down somewhere over Sudan, or it could have been somewhere else in Africa, but looks like this happened again. We've got a video here coming out, 16 seconds long. Take a look.
ابو ماجد ودول الابطال ها ده جناب دوما وجناب حسين ودول الابطال يا فرده ثاني طيرانين.
All right, so it made me wonder if this was probably a violation of some sort of airspace of enemies to Russia, and maybe that's why they shot this thing down. I'm hearing it was a Chinese-made air defense system that actually shot the plane down. This is allegedly some of these soldiers over here that were taking a look at the wreckage of this plane after it fell out of the sky, and apparently 5 Russian soldiers were killed in this incident when they were shot down over Sudan. So crazy news there. Let me know what you think on that. Now, Jay in Kyiv, with 380 million barrels of Russian crude oil already sitting in tankers all across the planet, exports fall off a cliff, dropping 30% in a week. If Russia can be forced to halt drilling rigs, it's the end. Yeah, take a look at this. As tankers loading crude at Russian terminals, 26 tankers loaded Russian crude in the week to November 2nd. Okay, so you can see here, October 26th and the 19th, we had 34 tankers being loaded each week. Now this next week, going into November 2nd, just a few days ago, went down to 26. So I wonder if that's due to these oil ports as well that were being attacked, like the Tuapse Port shutting down over the last few days. That could be another reason why. But on top of that, we've got all these oil refineries being attacked, lots of different oil infrastructure destroyed. That's probably also why we're not seeing a whole lot of exporting out of Russia right now. Some more reports that Russia cannot export any crude or anything like that from many of their ports due to the destruction of so many different facilities, and also obviously a lot of tankers sitting out on the oceans. We've been hearing about that. Some oil tankers are sitting off the coast of even like European nations because they all of a sudden, due to sanctions, cannot drop off their load of oil or whatever it might be that they're carrying to some ports like in China or India. So absolutely massive chaos here with Russia's oil and gas industry. Here's another one, Maria Drutska. Russian economic collapse update. Companies now spend at 36%, or more than 36%, that is, of profits on loan servicing, an all-time record high. Almost 25% of loans have overdue payments, and company profits are down even before inflation is factored in. Expect a massive wave of bankruptcies soon. Wow, take a look at this. As Russian economic collapse, businesses allocated a record share of profits to loan payments. The debt burden of Russian businesses has reached a record 36%. Companies spent over 36% of their profits on loan servicing at the end of September, a historic high, according to a study by the Center for Macroeconomic Analysis and Short-Term Forecasting reviewed by Izvestia. Analysts warn that the situation increases the risk of bankruptcy and default, accelerates inflation, and slows the economy. So, majority of these companies inside of Russia are now spending a large percentage of their profits on loan servicing. Okay, they're having a hard time just paying back loans. This shows how bad Russia's economy is. I mean, and at the same time, Vladimir Putin is still ordering Russian troops to continue this invasion into Ukraine. So look at how much damage is being done to Russia's economy. And they're doing everything they can to hold up the house of cards. And what happens one day when the economy, finally snaps and we have a major breakdown over here? So things are getting pretty crazy over inside of Russia right now. Let me know what you think on that story. Now, from next to hundreds of Ukrainian children have been killed. Russia must be held accountable, according to Yermak. Hundreds of Ukrainian children have been killed in the war. According to official data, 661 children have died and more than 2,200 have been injured. These are only confirmed cases on the territory controlled by Kiev. Thousands more have been forcibly taken to Russia and the occupied territories where they are stripped of their Ukrainian identity. Through the Bring Back UA initiative, Bring Back Kids UA initiative, 1,744 children have already been returned, but the road home remains difficult and dangerous. In his column for the Washington Examiner, head of the office of the president of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, stated that the world must force Russia to answer through sanctions, military support for Ukraine, and legal prosecution of those responsible. Every abducted child is not a statistic, it is a challenge to humanity, Yermak stressed. Here's a report from Washington Examiner. Hundreds of Ukrainian children are dead. Russia must be held accountable. Yeah, it's something to think about. You know what? We don't talk a whole lot about the children that have been affected by this war. You know, the poor kids over there that I've reported numerous times losing their lives to these drone attacks, guided aerial bombs that are being dropped, missiles being fired onto Ukraine, you know, homes being destroyed, leveled to the ground, people being trapped under rubble. A lot of times, very often, we report that it's children, unfortunately, losing their lives. So I think this topic deserves a little bit of talk here today with this video, just because, you know, the children, nobody thinks about that. Not only are these kids being killed in these strikes inside of Ukraine, but there's a lot of talk about all these children that were taken even back towards the start of the war, when the Russians invaded many of these areas, and many of them have been taken into Russian control and never returned to their families or returned to Ukraine. And that's what this whole Bring Back Kids UA initiative is about, is holding the Russians accountable, anybody that committed crimes, taking these Ukrainian children, then also obviously these Ukrainian children losing their lives in these strikes. I mean, this has to be war crimes that need to be, we need to have accountability for these strikes on any Russian soldiers or commanders that carry out these attacks inside of Ukraine. I mean, a lot of innocent civilians, not only kids, but even adults losing their lives in Ukraine. So very sad to hear about that. I just wanted to do a quick segment on this, talk about that a little bit. Let me know how you feel on this story today. But good on Andriy Yermak to be exploring this idea more of holding Russia accountable for these children that are losing their lives and all the abducted children as well. Now, Bliskovka. Air Defense Forces of Ukraine neutralized 61 out of 80 Russian UAVs. There were 18 UAVs hit at 7 locations, and debris fell at 2 locations. The attack continues with several enemy drones remaining in the airspace. So 80 drones in total going into Ukraine overnight. Look at that, 61 being shot down. Thankfully, no missiles being fired onto Ukraine overnight, and a good majority of these drones being taken out. Some good numbers there from Ukraine's defense forces. Now, Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of November 5th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And our final update here, Russia's losses as of November 5th, 900 troops, 3 AFVs, 70 vehicles and fuel tanks, 3 tanks, 42 artillery systems, 398 UAVs, and 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems. Okay, so this is why the Russians are having to transfer that Panzer S-1. I mean, it's almost every day we're seeing anti-aircraft warfare systems being destroyed here. 2 over the last night, and 42 artillery systems. These numbers starting to creep back up again. They've been dropping really low recently, like 15 to 20 or so on average. 3 tanks, AFVs, about normal numbers here. Vehicles and fuel tanks starting to get a lot lower now. The numbers were jumping up closer to like 120 to 150 over the last few days, but now starting to drop back down. And troop numbers, about average numbers we see right about 900 or so usually per day. So guys, I want to thank you very much for tuning in for today's update on November 5th, 2025. And also to let you know, this should be my only update for the day. I've got a lot of preparations to make before I head out of town starting tomorrow. So again, I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll let you know on some community posts what's going on with me while I'm gone. And again, I should be back sometime by Wednesday or Thursday of next week. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful week out there. Take care and be safe. We'll keep in touch. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.